Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Special Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave.
And I'm Cameron.
Yeah, you know, I thought about that 2 seconds after jumping down. I'm like, oh yeah, with 4 players, we should literally figure out this roll call thing here. But too late now. We've made it past
We figured
that.
it out.
And it all worked out. We made it work without anything. But yeah, we're coming together, doing an old 4-person podcast here. I was like, you know what? Let's bring together all the heavy metal buddies, in a sense, and talk about Brutal Legend, a game that I think is really awesome. And I kind of came to it a little bit later in life, but it represents the whole spectrum of classic heavy metal in full form, and it's just such a cool game, and it's one of those ones that kind of sadly came and went and sort of flew under the radar. It's like people kind of know about it, but it didn't get as much press and buzz as you think it should have. But at the same time, I know that me and Buddy have been talking throughout the week, and I think it's one of those ones that this game, when you try to think about who the target audience is for this game, I picture it like they're generally people older than gamers in a weird way, because we all like heavy metal and the classicness like that. But I think about it, I'm like, this game's almost made for people of Jack Black's age range. Is really like, I feel like the core demographic, but that's not an age range that has a ton of gamers in it. So I felt like that probably made it somewhat of a hard sell.
I just got curious to know what if it came out around the time that the Pick of Destiny came out.
I think so, because it's 2009, and I want to say Pick of Destiny is
3 years later, after, or 3 years after the Pick of Destiny.
So that's 2006 is Pick of Destiny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because for whatever reason, I couldn't stop thinking about that movie as I was playing it, but I guess it makes sense.
Because Pick of Destiny is all about like heavy metal and all kinds of stuff, and I mean, even I thought about that too the whole time I was playing the game, because they have all the cool guest characters and so on in there, and I was always like, I wonder why Dio wasn't in here, because he hadn't passed away yet, and he's literally in Jack Black's Pick of Destiny movie, so it felt like it wasn't too out of the question. Mm-hmm. But I did learn that actually they did record a bunch of dialogue with Dio, and he was supposed to be the main villain, and then they decided to go with Tim Curry because they liked the choice of him from Legend, if you've ever seen that fantasy movie from the 80s, which is really badass if you haven't. It literally, this is the best way to describe Legend. It's like the Legend of Zelda movie, and Tom Cruise plays Link, and there's a princess, and Tim Curry's pretty much Ganondorf, as in Satan.
Nice. That movie is really good. That had to have been the first movie that I think terrified me, like as far as like the depiction of Satan or a Dark Lord or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you can thank Tim Curry for that, which makes him I think it would have been really cool to have Dio in there as Diviculus, but I think they really made a solid choice with Tim Curry. I mean, his voice act. I mean, his voice is perfect.
Exactly, because I always think of him, Tim Curry, he's also like in Fern Gully, he plays like the villain in that, like the sludge monster thing that infects everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, he's got that, of course, Rocky Horror. He's even in other video games, too.
I always think of Frankenfurter.
Yeah, Dr. Frankenfurter. And he's even in things like Red Alert 3, he's in there. He's the Soviet commander, which I think's badass.
There you go. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he's in all kinds of things, so it makes kind of sense. But yeah, let's just go through real quick. Who played this game before this round, out of curiosity?
I did.
Nope.
Years ago. Not when it came out, but I played it about 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, see, I played it like 5 years ago. I finally got around to it.
See, I always for me, it was the demo that I played like right around launch. Like this game came out, demo came out, and I remember playing it and going like, oh, it's basically like Psychonauts, from the same developer as Psychonauts. But I completely thought it was just a hack and slash style game. I had no idea that this game had any RTS elements to it whatsoever, based off that demo. So
yeah, because I remember playing that demo too.
Sometimes. That strategy, it's not hard to grasp once you do, push forward. But I'm the kind of player with most of my games where I just want to destroy things like Diablo, Skyrim, whatever. I'm always a barbarian, Nord. Like I don't want to fuss around with the magic stuff. I just want to go destroy everything. So this game, you kind of need to use that tact. Otherwise, you're kind of just wasting your time. But
Yep.
I don't know. At least you have something to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I saw it come out years and years and years back when I had my PlayStation 3, and it was like, oh, Jack Black's in the game, okay. And I remember like looking it up on YouTube or Amazon or something, and the reviews weren't ultra great. So I was like, yeah, maybe one day. And then like I think it was around 5 years ago, Spence, I went to his house randomly, and I was like, what are you playing? And he's like, you Spirit of Legend, you should really check this out. I was like, yeah, maybe. And then it never did until last week.
Yep.
Well, didn't you have it on PS3 just waiting?
Yep. Been sitting there.
Yeah, so you did buy it. You put the good intentions in a long time ago, and it was all waiting.
The backlog.
You know what the funny thing is though is I remember when this game came out though, and it's weird because it's like I think about this in hindsight, but I remember seeing some stuff for it, and I want to say like on XPlay because this would have been around that time period still. Still proto internet. You would have looked things up like when you would have still watched things off regular TV, and I almost remember seeing some of like the hair metal bad guys and so on, and having that feeling like, oh man, they're making fun of hair metal. I don't know if I can take this. Like this game's offensive to me and so on like that. And it's weird because it's like. I'm trying to think about that nowadays. Like, okay, like, because when you play this game, I go, dude, it's everything that I'd really want, like in a rock and roll video game, And it's not like I was opposed to Jack Black at that time period. I like School of Rock, even a little bit. I probably saw it later, but like Pick of Destiny and so on, like that. I remember seeing that 2009 or something, but. So it's weird that like I don't feel like those things were going against me. I was kind of wondering, but it's like, yeah, I just remember for some reason having this like thing, like I'm like, oh, I don't know, maybe looking at the art style or something would have like just turned me off from it like that, back in the day. And then when I finally gave it the old college try 5 or 6 years ago, I was like, this game is so good. It's got an amazing soundtrack and the characters are awesome and just the references galore.
When you talk about the art and stuff, it kind of reminds me of the OG Fable, and if you initially like boot that up and you start playing it, you think like this is a children's game, and it clearly is anything but. And I was really surprised on the second playthrough because I didn't make it very far at all when I first played it. Like I didn't even kill Lion White, 12 years ago, and this time around, like as I'm progressing, I'm like the story is actually not that stupid. It's I think it's as serious as it is goofy, and paired with that the art, it's like it's kind of deceiving, but in a fun way.
Oh yeah. Well, it's even like my son. So my son's like 6 years old, and like he's looking at this, like seeing the bright colors, the poppiness of the art style and whatnot. And I'm just like, bro, like you can't watch this. Like it's like gory as fuck. They're cursing like crazy, and I love it at the beginning of the game, like the options for that, where it's just like, do you want to have profanity? Yes, no. Do you want to have gore? Yes, no. Like so good.
Well,
I'd actually kind of like to do a run with those things turned on, just to hear the bleeping and stuff.
If you bleep them out, is it? Yeah,
I can imagine it add some humor to it. So.
Well, I love the way it describes it, like because when it asks you if you want to censor the dialogue and everything like that, it asks you, it's like, no, leave it in there. I want to hear all the explicit stuff. Or it says like, no, it's actually funny when it bleeps, because that is kind of true. Because like sort of like
South Park.
Yeah, when you watch old South Parks, like it's almost, I remember when they released the versions where they weren't bleeped out anymore. It strangely actually felt less funny in a weird, like the joke's still a hit, but like I don't know what it is, but
it's
when
like
you
having a laugh track.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
You need to know when to laugh. It's funny you say that about your son. One of my good buddies just saw this band called Blood Incantation a few nights ago in San Fran, and he did I also saw him before he did, like a few weeks before, but he did the VIP with them, and the merch that they gave him was a little plate to roll marijuana on, some rolling papers, a lighter, and a handful of other things. Well, he took his son, who is 5 years old, and because his son apparently really loves the band too.
No, yeah.
Like every time he plays it, he starts jamming out, like hopping up and down and stuff. So they going through that VIP, they told him like, here's your bag of stuff. I don't know if you want your kid like hold on this or whatever. He's like, no, I get it. And he takes it from him. But yeah, hilarious.
My nephew really wants to play video games with me, and like I'm trying to like let him. Like I let him play Donkey Kong and Mario Kart, And then I was babysitting him, and he saw this, and I was like, I have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It's like I didn't even question it, like really being like, oh yeah, this is actually a little bit more of an intense, mature rated game. It's that weird one where it's just like, this feels just kind of like regular Saturday for me.
Oh yeah,
you know. But like when you do think about it, like, oh yeah, there is quite a bit of swearing and so on.
It does have a healthy dose of slapstick throughout the game too, which I can appreciate.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the comedy's great in it. I think that's one of the best parts. Like I'll even just say, just like when you start with that intro, the intro really gets you sold in there. You have that video, and Jack Black's going through talking about the life of the roadie and everything like that, and he has a very poetic way he actually describes the whole like roadie experience.
Everything he does.
Like, yeah, but it like really works. It's like you almost like take it in and so on. And you know, he's this old rocker guy, and he's having to be a roadie for pretty much what I would say is like a mishmash Sum 41 meets emo like band, where they're like a very genre blending. You know, where it's like it starts off, it's kind of heavy metal, but then it's pop punk, then it's got the rap beats in there and everything like that. Like it's just because that was like what I say about Sum 41 is Sum 41 just melds everything together. And don't get me wrong, I actually like Sum 41 quite a bit, but like you know, you listen to their songs and you know they got both the rap, the pop punk in there, and then all of a sudden they'll be playing like Rain and Blood on like their thing. You're like, oh, okay, cool, let's go for it. Why not? I mean, they do tell you in like their main song that, you know, Maiden and Priest were the guys that we praise. So,
oh, dude, and I love that scene in this game too, where it's Jack Black and the other dude sitting there, and they're just like, oh, really, you're like doing it for this band and blah blah blah. You know, like it's so good. It's so good.
That scene made me think like that has to happen in real life. Like I can only imagine like these older roadies that you know once did the work for like Ozzy or Sabbath or Dio, Priest, LA Guns, even all these bands. Then now they're playing for some of these other bands. It's probably a great gig, making a ton of money. But you know they're just like, dude, the money's good. I don't want to hear this music.
Yep.
Because well, the funny thing when I think about it too is I hate to sort of say it, that the band that's playing, like that's technically your gaming audience's age right there. So it's almost like once again, it's almost like literally like the parents coming to me like, oh geez, this is what they're listening to.
The amount of satire is just beautiful, man. Like it's so well done.
Oh, it is. It really is. I'm wondering on what, because I didn't do all the side missions. I did like 2, and just enough to progress through the game. And I'm wondering what cameos I might have missed, because the one that I know I got for sure was Kyle Gass.
Yeah,
and which was freaking hilarious. I didn't expect. I didn't know. I knew he was in the game. I didn't know that he was that though. The one of the big hand guys. Yep. And that was so funny. Like the freaking the girls that look like the Runaways or whatever. They're just standing there bullying the guy.
Yep.
With giant hands.
I just love it. It's just like dinky ass little head, you know, exactly. On top and whatnot, dude. It's so funny. Yeah, that was one of my more favorite cameos in the game. Was how it goes.
I gotta admit, when it comes to side missions, I did none, not a single one.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I just want to get through it.
I'm going to say this is kind of like when I was playing this again. I don't think you necessarily have to do realistically any of the side missions. I don't think it would really affect you.
It makes the game easier if you do some of them, and if you like do some of the relic raising and stuff. Because I didn't realize that doing that would give me more like skills and stuff. I did it once and then I forgot about it, and then when I did it again, like I don't know, 5 hours later, I was like, oh, I just got a new ability. I got a new move.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There is some stuff out there, of course. Like you can get new guitar solos for Magic. You can get, of course, more points that you can use to upgrade your armor and your vehicle and all that kind of stuff. So it's not saying it's totally unnecessary, but I do think you almost could play only story missions. You would still get enough points to do the regular upgrades you probably need. And you could probably get through it. You know, it might be a little bit more of a struggle, but it's not like it's not like one of those games where you have to.
No, that's exactly how I played, because like I just basically streamlined like all the story quests and whatnot up until pretty much like the final like couple fights or whatever. then I went and I did some side stuff just to go kind of grind a little bit, just to get a little bit extra XP. I didn't want another Parasite Eve 2 situation, Spence. so I went and grinded a little bit. But anyways, mostly just to get the homing missile. And that's why I was texting Buddy the other day too, was just like about the homing missile thing, because that really helps in that final fight. But yeah, the amount of upgrades and whatnot that you can get were actually really good, in my opinion. Plus, it's awesome to be able to go to this, like, you know, layer of hell that, you know, Ozzy is the fucking dude, you know, to give you your upgrades and shit. Like, it's so good. But
yeah, and Ozzy's got amazing lines when he's down there too.
Oh yeah,
I love this.
I love that he gets more and more like mad every time you keep coming down. Like he'll make little comments. Like I didn't know. I was like, I'm gonna see what upgrades I have available. Now it's been a little bit, and he made a comment. He's like, I'm so getting so sick of this. Every time you come in, there's another scratch on the car. I was like, oh, like I like they had that because there was extra dialogue in it. Just made it funny versus just like, oh, the Emperor of Metal welcomes you back again.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
the sarcasm is really good.
There's a lot of lines.
One of the last times I left the forge or whatever it is, he's just like, whatever. Like, you're like, all right, see you later, whatever. Just get out of here.
It's like blows you off. Yeah, no, it kind of has that, but the one thing I do notice, like, just if we went into like the gameplay of this thing, because it's like it gives you about 3 modes of gameplay in a sense. There's the hack and slash that's kind of like Devil May Cry, God of War sort of style. There's the car racing and things like that. And then there's the RTS, which is the one that really throws you a curveball, because I don't even think that was really in that demo back in the day. And it comes kind of late in the game. It's like, or not late, but like 2.5 hours into the game, you maybe do your first like RTS battle. So it's kind of like a shocking, but kind of cool at the same time mode. Yeah. And I know I saw in some of those reviews, they say that was the part that people were really behind or they didn't like it. And I guess it just depends. If you don't like RTS, and the weird thing is by this point, RTS games are kind of on like the downturn. Like they weren't like that popularness that they were in the late 90s to early 2000s. So by this point, who knows? People might have been kind of burnt out on it. But I think it's a cool combo. I think the one thing, though, is that they string it all together with like an open worldness. I really have a feeling that kind of made it sort of a struggle to keep everything kind of together. But I know that at this time period, so many games, I think just like, you know, the big overlords were going like, no, GTA's popular. Put a open world in there. You know what I mean? Assassin's Creed's popular. Got to have open world, because you would see a lot of games that like did not need the open world whatsoever. Another one I always think of is No More Heroes 1. It has an open world just so you go back and forth between missions, but it really is it's just there to like suck time more than anything else. Yep. You know.
Anytime I play an RTS or anything involving strategy, like for example, Republic Commando.
Not Republic Commando. I
hate having to get into it because it's almost like a chore to me. But then once I start playing, and I'm like, okay, like it's like getting your feet wet. You know what I mean? Like going to the swimming pool. You're like, oh god, I don't want to do this. And then you get in, you're like, this is actually kind of nice. Then you piss yourself. Just kidding. But the
blue dye covers the rest of the pool.
But the Republic Commando 2, like I thought I could just Halo my way through that game, and I was wrong. I was really wrong.
Oh yeah, but you're talking about like the command and some of those guys. And stuff
yeah. I didn't realize that it was going to make my life so much easier. I just kept trying to do my own thing, but that's kind of like the way I felt with the later main story missions in Brutal Legend. Like the first time that you go fight Ophelia, which is where there's the opposing stage. I think it's the first time there's the opposing stage. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why am I getting my ass kicked like over and over and over? And finally I'm like, oh, well, it's because I'm not really trying.
Yeah. But no, there's a couple times in those fights too that where like it was virtually just a stalemate, you know, like we both had 3 points captured and we're just sending waves after waves after waves of shit, to the point of like where I was more like, okay, I'm gonna let them overtake this point just so I can just, you know, basically just grind like low end mobs, pile them up in this one area, let her come to me, wipe all her shit out, push back, grab my point, and then be able to push. That's basically how the final fight went for me, you know, like at the end there, you know. But same thing, you know, like you have to. There is enough strategy in it that I think that it could be like, I don't I don't know. I've never liked RTS on like controller per se.
Yeah, makes sense.
And especially in this game. So I'm playing on Steam, which already I'm forcing my PS5 controller to work with the application through Steam, so the game just hates it anyways. So I had to remap all my controls. I have no idea what this game's like native controls are actually like, because all my controls are just like Frankenstein together to the point of like, so you know how you can pull up the one menu and have all your solos and whatnot? Well, I had that mapped to my right bumper, basically. If I held that button, I would, like that menu would pop up. I could rotate around with my left stick and then use A to, select the thing and do my solo. I also had my where you have like trying to think of like the commander mode, basically, like where you're selecting your units and whatnot. So that's all tied to the same button, but I was
constantly mixing those up as I was playing.
So mine was mapped to the same button, but I would basically have to go into like demon mode. So I'd have to like fly up into the air for that wheel to activate to actually work, or I would have to jump in my car for it to work. So like I had to do all these extra things, to like get the game to work properly. It was fine. Like, I mean, it was totally fine.
Yeah, it sounds fine. Of course, that was totally fine.
I was definitely switching controls a lot throughout the whole game.
I actually had a really I felt super dumb moment because I didn't realize during those battles you can still summon your car, and so I
did that forever.
I'm grinding him out and I'm getting beyond frustrated. Like, I forget which battle it was. I eventually switched my difficulty to Wimpy because I was like, dude, I'm a bitch. This is hard. I'm gonna switch the difficulty. So I remember just being like, it told me that I could. It was when I fought Ophelia, and it told me to jump in the rock crusher to take down the towers.
Yeah.
So like, well, I wonder if I can just get the Deuce car, which clever name, which I like the name of that car. But I was like, oh, you can. Well, sweet, I got the homing missile on here. That makes a lot of things a lot easier. And then I'll be honest, the last couple of fights, so after I switched it to Wimpy, it was very, very easy. Almost too much, so I'll say, because that Ophelia fight did suck. You were right, Spencer. But after that, I just completely obliterated people, and I was like, well, now it's no challenge, but it's still really fun. I still enjoyed it, but I was like, okay. I want my handheld camera. We've talked about that for years.
You want Jack Black to come out of the screen and carry you through it.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of game people are into, this game for me is huge because, I guess on an almost emotional level, because I love metal. I love rock and roll. I love metal. And I don't think there's many games like it in that regard. And a few years ago, I kept thinking, I was searching Reddit forums and trying to find anyone who was had the same idea as me or would be able to help me out with this. I wanted to make a plot for a fighting game that was all metal artists. Maybe guitarists, maybe drummers. I don't know. But I mean, I don't see that happening.
But with metal characters, that'd be sick.
See, when I was a kid, I literally had that same kind of thought, and I pictured the way I based off of is I pictured Marvel versus Capcom, that kind of style and Capcom-ness, and I pictured it well, what if you sort of had the band? So you had, and I was thinking rock and roll ones. So you had Aerosmith, you had Kiss, you had Led Zeppelin, you had all these ones, and they kind of worked in it was a fighting game, but all the members kind of worked together in a sense. The best way I could say that is almost how the Ninja Turtles work in I guess it's Injustice. I was going to say Mortal Kombat, but I think in Injustice 2, when you pick the Ninja Turtles, it's actually all four of them, and they kind of rotate their moves, which is kind of cool. But I always wanted that, too. I always thought that the idea of a rock and metal one, where you just had all the... Because in a sense, rock stars are such characters in themselves. And Brutal Legend tells you that right off the bat, because when you see the cameos in here, you got Rob Halford in there. You literally got Lemmy. You got Ozzy. There's even Lita Ford, even though she doesn't play the person you exactly think she is right off the bat. She doesn't play the person that's named Lita.
No.
I loved that when it said to go to the Killmaster initially, I remember thinking right off the way, oh, that's a really cool pun, just like how they named the card Deuce. I was like, that's a cool pun. And then when you get to the Killmaster, it's actually Let Me Kill Mister. I was like, that's really clever. I like that.
That's really good.
I just think it's cool that they use like their character persona almost like to create this world in a sense. You know, it's the way that they described kind of like how the game setting was almost what if you took like the album artwork on heavy metal albums, and you like the way that it looks in that really cool Frank Frazetta kind of like painting, Conan the Barbarian look, but you made that was the whole rock and roll world, you know, was what this place was. You know, it says Tim Schafer said that thing. He's like music videos never captured kind of like what I assumed like a heavy metal like vibe should be, and he's like that's what I wanted to go with on this.
The Ormageddon, it totally reminded me of some Motorhead covers. Their mascot anyway, but yeah, I don't know. There's everything, like everywhere you look, there's something that's going to make you think of something in rock and roll, the world of rock and roll and metal.
Yeah,
which, I don't know, it's pretty awesome.
I was gonna say one thing that I think is kind of interesting in this too is the soundtrack itself. One, it's got like 107 heavy metal songs on there, and what I like about it so much is for the fact that the songs, it's a really eclectic list of music. There's
very
almost
wide
like
array.
Wide array of like metal genres, but there's like no real like hits, except for ironically, I was telling Buddy this. All the hair metal stuff is kind of in like more like the greatest hit style. You can kind of tell that like Tim Schafer and all those guys, like since they probably didn't like hair metal, it's kind of obvious that they didn't really also know the tune super well. So they're like, Dr. Feelgood, lay it down, you know, Rock of Ages, here we go. You know, still all good songs. I'm not complaining. I'm actually kind of glad that that's in there because I remember when I initially played the game, I actually didn't expect to hear those songs at all. So it still was a surprise. But it's funny. It's like those are the only ones that don't have really eclectic stuff comparatively to everything else where it's like, oh, it's, you know, none of the Judas Priest stuff, none of the Motorhead. It's not common songs.
No.
Well, I loved like that, like, you know, I love the music a lot, but like there's a band that I found that I'd never heard of because of this song. I sent it to you guys in our chat, but I'd never heard of the band Crimson Glory until this. And like, I heard that song, Queen of the Masquerade, like 4 or 5 times on the game, and I was like, this song is badass.
Yeah.
Who the hell sings this?
Same. I thought the same thing.
All their albums are amazing, so I was really tripped out. But and then, like you said, I did think it was funny though. It's like, here's metal, 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 and then one of the missions had Rock of Ages from Def Leppard as the soundtrack, and I was like, this is so out of place, but so funny right now.
But there's too many times in this, you know. So Spence told me like right off the get-go, when I brought this game up, he was like, yeah, I really liked it, but he goes, I feel like some of the open world sections, you know, could probably just go away. I very much agree with that to an extent. However, dude, the amount of times that I'm going from like one mission marker to the next, blasting tunes, flying through the, you know, world, smashing things, blood spraying everywhere, and just like, you know, all the, like, I would get to my mission marker, and instead of just running up to it and hitting it, like I would sit and finish the song.
For the song,
you know, like, and then like, all right, cool, now I can go into the mission. You know, this soundtrack in this game is so good, and it's so well done. Even like, so you know, it has its like randomness throughout its open world sections, but it's like it's curated. Like there's the one race scene where you have Ophelia in the car with you or whatever, and you're racing down this like broken down, you know, freeway system like type thing and whatnot, and like Dragon Force like through the fire and flying.
Oh yes,
and,
yeah, that's after you.
It's just like hell yeah, you know, or like that whole section like I had me just pumped, you know, to like play it, and I felt like that throughout a whole lot of this game. So.
Well, and I think that's another cool thing is that they put some, in a sense, modern bands at that time period in there, like Dragon Force, then Children of Bodom. They also have, I want to say, Trivium is in there as well, too. And I think it's just kind of cool because it's like, yeah, Def Clock's in there, but they're like all the right choices that like match nicely at that time period. Because Through the Fire and the Flames, at that point, you know, Dragon Force still was a pretty new for America band then. You know, I mean, they've been out for a handful of years by that point, of course. But the fact that was in there is just like, dude, you get pumped.
Yep.
Escaping out of General Lion Whites, which is the hair metal villain guys. You know, Palace and whatnot. And I love the way it is because it's like White Lion and everything like that. You know, and he looks kind of like David Bowie. And I also like because Rob Halford plays that dude too, which is badass.
Yep.
Is that Rob Halford?
So Rob Halford plays himself, and then he plays General Lion White.
I didn't realize that was Rob Halford. That's crazy.
I didn't either at first. And
I didn't.
When I read that it was Rob Halford, I was like, "What?" And that was years ago, and I kind of forgot what he looked like, Lion White. And then I started playing. I'm like, kind of looks like David Bowie. And then he starts talking. I'm like, well, that's definitely not David Bowie's voice. And it was pretty impressive. That guy, not only does he have a range when he's singing, but when he's voice acting, it's pretty cool too.
And then once you hear it's Rob Halford's like, the range makes total sense now.
This is right after you meet Rob Halford's character later on in those, like that weird forest with the fire beasts. I think that was the mission that annoyed me the most. Like that wasn't a RTS mission, where you have to circle the beasts in the fire. I would do that, and half the time it just wouldn't even work. They just walk right out of it. I'm like, dude, this is pissing me off so much. I can't. But finally, I got through it.
There's some of those other. There's some kind of like extra gimmicky like missions that are in there that are a little bit like clunky, I guess is the best way to sort of say it. Because I will say this is one of these kind of games like. There is some stuff in there that's a little bit like and just even like the Dragon Force mission, like that one has a couple of sections where like it's kind of unclear what direction you're supposed to drive. And I literally this time and the previous time, I remember I would get caught on something and you got to restart that whole thing. I mean, at least you're listening to Dragon Force, but like if it was any other game and you didn't have like a tune list to, you'd be like so pissed at this point. Like, you kidding me? You're making me restart this whole like level?
Yep.
But yeah, there is a couple of those ones, and yeah, that's the same thing with circling those things. It's like it's kind of like you just get him. Finally, he got stuck in there. Damn it, Lita, jump on top of him. Or then like you'll circle him, you'll be out of the area, and then Lita's like, hey, you need to move over a little bit more. You're like, it's already such a pain for me to bring him here.
That mission took me way longer than it should have because of that. It took me forever to find the things. Then when I went to look, it's like, we're going to leave the area. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And then when I finally found the thing, I trapped it. And she's like, I can't jump that far. It's like, that took me, I'm not going to admit how long that mission took me.
You have to trap it, and then you have to lead it, and then you have to trap it again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
you gotta do 3 of them. But kind of going back to when we were talking about like the open worldness and what Cameron was saying there, I will say yes, because of the tunes, that makes the open worldness kind of work. Because I always feel that's really one of the main reasons why open world works so good in Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, because you have stuff to listen to. Where a lot of other open world games, it's like they don't have a soundtrack, so you almost get kind of bored. You're like, oh geez, here we go again.
Yeah, like Red Dead Redemption. Stupid horse.
Why can't he pull out like his cassette player? I don't care. It'd be old timey Western music.
I was late to the party with that game. I heard so much good things about it, and I think it was last year I finally bought it because it was on sale. Like one of those weird Xbox sales that are like 80% off. And I bought it, and I'm like, oh, cool. This is gonna be really cool. Grand Theft Auto, but Western. And I got so bored like really quickly. And
which one was it? Was it the first or the second one?
No, it was the second one, and I'm still gonna give it a go. Of course, I'm gonna give it a go, but I'm like, okay, these guys have just been on a horse talking, like walking through the snow for like 20 minutes. Like, I'm sick of this. And one of my buddies like, no, it gets better. It gets better. I'm like, well, I'm playing something else because I don't want to play this right now.
It genuinely does, but that game is so long, dude. My first run of Red Dead Redemption 2, I think, was like 110 hours. My second run on PC when I bought it on Steam to do my speed run was 45 hours. Like, it's so fucking long. That game takes forever, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it took me almost like 80 hours or something like that. I know that for sure. And I will say it's one of those ones where like, you have to put like 10 hours into that game before it really like starts to be good. Which is kind of crazy to try to tell somebody. Yeah. And that was the downfall. That's why I always said that game is like, I was like, you can't call this game of the year when like half the players give up on it. Like, obviously there's something kind of wrong with that design.
So when that game came out, and I don't want to digress much on it, but man, I remember I was talking to Cameron because that came out at the same time as one of the Assassin's Creed games. I was like, I think I'm going to give it a shot tonight, like after work. And Cameron goes, I wouldn't do that. Like, you have no plans. You're really going to need to invest some time before, because I get bored quickly. And Cameron points out, he's like, you're going to get so bored and you're not going to want to finish this mission. So you need, 3 or 4 hours to get into the game. Like, what the fuck? 3 or 4 hours to get into the game?
If I have to come home from work or whatever, and I have like 2 hours before I know I'm going to go to bed, and I just want to relax for a minute but not go to bed yet, I'm not even going to play a game anymore, because every new game I try and whatever, it's always like either 30 minutes of cutscene or whatever, this and that. I'm like, I'm just going to wait until I have a fresh day.
That's what I loved about this experience, though, man. So I played a lot of it on my Steam Deck, and it was perfect because each mission's like 20 to 45 minutes, I would say, somewhere around that range. And it's like, 45 minutes before bed, I brush my teeth, I'd lay in bed, I'd pull up my Steam Deck, play through a mission or whatever, finish it. And just played it really consistently that way, throughout the whole campaign. Like, it's so well done, so.
Yeah, it made me want to play the next mission. Like, when I finish up one, it made me be curious, like, well, one more mission.
Yeah, no, the flow's so good, and I think just that like combo of just one more mission, and they're just the right length. They're like not too long, and even just the overall length, because the game's maybe like less than 8 hours. I mean, obviously, if you went and did every single side mission, but the more the side missions is just finding stuff at the end of the day. It's not like there's extra story or anything like that. It's kind of nice, though, even though it's like you kind of would love to see more. And I know that they were supposed to have more content. There was supposed to be a whole other army in there, probably more cameos, like anything grander than, it can be. But at the same time, it's like because the gameplay is kind of not too long, you could go back and replay this game really easily and not have a problem whatsoever.
Yeah. I think the only thing I wish they would have expanded on more, and again, I think this comes from like my demo days of me playing this, because I just wholly assumed that this was an action RPG. I thought that's what this game was going to be, like a hack and slash style game. I wish they would have had more ability specific for the player character instead of being like the commander type character, which is great. I mean, it's fun and like the RTS side of this. But if your player character had more combo abilities, more like individual like one-on-one target or AoE abilities, to be able to take on like one of my favorite abilities is the face melter thing. Like so you actually can do crowd control. When smaller mobs would come in or whatever, you'd pull up that solo and you rip through that thing real quick, and then like everybody's like face would melt, and like that type of stuff. I just wish it had more of that, because I got really bored with that side of the game pretty quickly. It was like Eddie's like actual abilities and like his play style and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is a little bit simple for sure. It's definitely, if you're comparing it to Devil May Cry and God of War and Ninja Gaiden, that part is a little bit lacking. Like it's one of those ones, if that was the only gameplay in there, I think it would really like weigh down on it. I feel because since you have about 3 main types of gameplay, like if any of them are kind of weak, it's kind of like it doesn't like take too much out of it because you have 3 different ways you can kind of go back and forth between, but sometimes at the same time I kind of wonder that once again, if you didn't have the open world and let's just say the game was straight level based, you did the same thing, but you didn't have the back and forth part. How many more levels would they have been able to put in there? And then 2, would they be able to put a little bit more time and effort into the hack and slash part, into a little bit more of the RTS things, and just add those extra details?
Possibly. But see, but I think that the world was so well designed, and like just like Dave was talking about earlier, just like the amount of things like in any given frame of this game that you can just snapshot, like you're gonna see something that reminds you of heavy metal or rock music, like somewhere, and its art design is just so good, so I don't know, like I think that it needs to, like if they were going to improve on this, like if there were an expansion to it or something, a DLC came out or whatever, like adding in more things like that, like more abilities, more, maybe even like more, like you were saying, like the armies and things like that, like to have like a 3rd type army or whatever, and then you can get into, because the other side of this game that I didn't experience much of at all was the multiplayer side, because I understand there's like a full-on like RTS multiplayer, style in this game, and that sounds really cool. I wish I would have experienced that around launch.
I'd get my ass kicked.
I did turn the multiplayer on and I took a look at it and so on, and it looks like on Xbox you could still boot it up, and as long as you had somebody else you could play it together. It's kind of like, so you choose between, you have Eddie's team, then you have Ophelia's goth team, and then you have what's his face, the devil guy,
Deviculus
is, so that's the 3 you get to choose from. I thought it was kind of weird. It's like, why don't they have General Lionwhite as well too? I know he's kind of like just like a variant of Eddie's, but they should have had that. Then you'd have 4 of them, so you could have like a 4-player match. But it does sound kind of neat, It's just like that's like another bonus. But then I also kind of wonder, as cool as that is, it's like, does that kind of take away once again from the development time that you would have with the single play? There's so many factors there. And I know that like this game also had this weird issue going on where it was an Activision one, and Activision was the same company that outbought Guitar Hero. So it kind of makes sense why this thing kind of came together. And I know that they said that Tim Schafer actually had this idea since like literally like 1991 when he was doing Secret of Monkey Island. And for the longest time, it's just nobody wanted to do anything heavy metal. But then Guitar Hero 1 and 2 comes out, and rock music seems popular. But I do think Guitar Hero is one of those weird ones where it's like, I think it seemed like rock was really popular. I think people just like the
nothing
game.
like that game.
Yeah.
I just think, I think that was the thing, is the game was just more just like a total cool fad thing.
That's kind of like that episode of South Park where they're all playing Guitar Hero and Randy's like, you want to see something real cool? And he's like this excellent guitarist. And then just like, get out of here. Like, let us play our game.
Yeah.
No, and that's exactly it. I think that scene defines kind of exactly kind of how the average player of Guitar Hero and stuff was. It's like, no, they weren't really actually into rock and roll or heavy metal. They just liked the game, you know. But that at least allows Brutal Legend to get made, but it has this weird fallout with Activision. Then it gets bought by EA. Nobody knows what they're going to do with it. Budgets are kind of cut. There's some suing going on. So all that, I know that pulled a bit from this game more and more and more, and kind of, you know, pulled some pieces out, you know. Like, one thing I can always think about is there's the battle with Ophelia towards the very end. She has the turning point and everything. And it literally is like 2 more missions, and then it's the final one, and it's over with. It feels like there was literally supposed to be something there, and then I read it's like, oh, yeah, that was where the extra army was supposed to be that would have padded that section out, and then you would have battled Diviculus, and it would have seemed a little bit more like, oh, it was even more of a build-up to it.
Yeah. Yep.
I definitely. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, the second half of this game for me, like, exactly what Spence says, like, it felt like it was totally rushed through its development. There's a lot of repeating of like mission types and whatnot, like especially like the last like 4 or 5 missions that you play. The first half of this game, every mission is so vastly different from itself. You have your racing mission, you have your like, you know, hack and slash type mission, you have your you know, like escort type mission, you know, like all these different types, you know, whatever. But then like the final half of this game, like I said, like the last few missions just felt so samey. To my point of like, if player character had more abilities, if we had more, you know, types of units that we could use in our, you know, different fighting and whatnot, that slowly increases over time. But even maybe like if they expanded out to where instead of having like 3 towers per side, maybe if we had 5 towers per side and allowing for a higher, you know, like actual army count and whatnot, that's more or less like all I really wanted to do was just like build the most badass army that I could, but being limited to 40 points or whatever, you know, it's like you can only do so much with that.
Yeah, that I thought that was a bummer too, because I was trying to do the same thing. And then when I was trying to, after I realized I needed something else other than the headbangers, I'm like, now I have to wait for them to die, I guess. And I'm like, what the hell kind of army is this?
Yep.
But
yeah, it should almost do the thing that every single time you upgrade your stage, because you can upgrade it 3 times, more. It should add an extra 40. Like, so 40, 80, 120. You know, I don't know, probably 360 and PS3. I don't know if they can handle that character count.
Maybe not. But maybe that's what their limitation was. Who knows?
Yeah.
I can see that honestly, because there was definitely a few times when like I'd be in a big battle and like but I was actually worried that my PS3 was just going to like stop at numerous times because there was so much happening on the screen. So I definitely think that is a factor. And it's fun, you know, when we talk about the big armies though, like when I fought Ophelia, I remember being like, oh, this isn't that bad. And then when it came time to cross the bridge, I saw the big army on the bridge and I was like, oh shit. And it took me like 3 or 4 times of like getting back over there. And then I killed those towers, like, oh, this is it. You're going to die, bitch. And then I saw another like massive army just waiting. I was like, man, this doesn't end.
Yep. Yep.
I want to build that big of an army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it definitely needs that. It's kind of funny because you have Ophelia. We've kind of mentioned this character over and over, but not talked about it a bunch. But So she's sort of like this, like the rock and roll love interest that, of course, Eddie finds when he comes to this heavy metal fantasy dimension and so on like that. And, throughout there, you're fighting alongside her. She's this real cool, hip, heroine and whatnot like that. But then there gets to this point where, like, everybody thinks that, like, oh, maybe she's this, like, lady that Daviculus has always been talking about and so on like that. And she's been the traitor and she's been sending him information. And they do this thing to, like, Ophelia, like, they just like, go like, hey, like, we don't trust you anymore. Just like, hey, get out of the car. We're just going to dump you off here. Lita's going to get in with me. See you later, bitch.
Yep, due process didn't exist in the past.
They just leave her ass on the fucking middle of nowhere, and it's just like 3 months later. Well, yeah, she's pissed.
Yep.
And then she turns into like this gothic kind of like Marilyn Manson character, like type scene, and it does feel like it's a little bit like of a hard turn, and I think that's kind of what they were going with. But I guess you would feel like maybe they were supposed to be a little bit more like bleeding.
I love how her like minions, those little like zombie dudes, that kind of look like Robert Smith from The Cure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At first, I'm like, is it like Jack White or something? I'm like, no, that looks a lot more like Robert Smith, the original goth.
No, her army types, like some of the types that she has in her army are like so fucking annoying. The really tall dudes that spit out fucking rats and shit, dude.
They got the belly.
Oh my god, dude! Like that. So many times, like, because I would build up. So I loved having low end but mass scale armies. So basically the headbangers. You just like a shit ton of those guys. A lot of fun to just play with, and whatnot. But inevitably, she would order in 2 of those fuckers would come in or whatever. They would start bombing rats all over the place, and they're just gone. My army's just gone. And it's like, dude, it's like, god damn it, like. So then you have to start intermixing and all that, and that's very much RTS. But there's certain enemy types that are just annoying to deal with.
The horsemen,
that being one of them.
Baby carriage things.
See, the horseman was fine for me because I got that stat for my my axe that like shocks them or whatever, and stuns.
Oh,
them. So you can just hit them once and then you can just stun lock them until they're dead or whatever, and like then deal with the other ones. So like those ones weren't too bad. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the vehicle ones too. Anything that had vehicle, especially the healing ones, that just have a ridiculous amount of health, would just take forever to take down. So there was a handful of like frustrations in its combat in this game for me. That
I didn't realize forever too that you could upgrade your troops.
Mm-hmm. Press Y.
Yeah, I had no idea. I wasn't paying attention to it. I just kept summoning troops, and then eventually I'm like, I could have done that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I didn't know that literally until the very last mission after Ophelia. I was like, okay. Would have made that one easier.
I'm glad other players know about this.
All of them, was it? I think it was just like some of the basic troops, like your like Lemmy and then the headbangers and the girls with the guns. I think is the only ones you can upgrade, right?
I think it was only the guns and the headbangers. Maybe
you could upgrade Lemmy.
Oh.
So you could do that. But you couldn't upgrade Rob Halford. You couldn't upgrade like the big guys with the big fist or the roadies or anything.
What the heck?
See, and this is kind of like their downfalls. Once again, that 40 troop cap thing is that a lot of times it doesn't take very much to have like to max that out, and then it's like, well, now there's a bunch of cars coming, so I'm going to either need some roadies or the guys with the big fist, but I can't build them because they take like 5 characters or whatever to like build one of them. So
yeah.
Well, let's the
fans. Out. That's another mechanic we should explain real quick too. Is the fan system? I actually thought that was pretty neat. Like so when you first start and you have like these like geyser looking things or whatever, with all these like souls floating around in them, and I don't know how you would describe like the monster that's on top of it. It's basically just like a giant worm that's just like leech. Yeah, I guess
like looks like a giant penis leech.
Mm-hmm. So that was a strategy that I implemented pretty quickly as I started to get a little more deeper into the RTS like mechanics of the game. Is just like running over to the opponent's side, especially the battle, the 2-stage battles or whatever, like running over to the opponent's side, stealing one of their towers or whatever, and just building, like your fan, whatever they called it in the game. I forgot what it's called. Your merch booth or whatever,
booth.
Yeah. And then stealing that, and then that would give you enough time to be able to like still, build your army and then push forward and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, a lot of fun.
What was the point of the thing you could do when you jump on the stage? You hit left and right.
It's a defensive mechanism. So say if there's an army coming at your stage,
Okay.
You could literally do like left speaker and it would kind of blow out a sound thing, right speaker. Now, granted, if you're the only one left, it's not going to do anything.
I was thinking the same thing.
But if you have a little bit of an army there, you can kind of help out and kind of act like a goalie defending your place. Yeah.
I noticed that when I accidentally jumped on the stage when I was trying to summon troops. And I was like, what did I just do? And I see the controls and I'm like, well, let me try this out. I'm like, well, that's neat. I wonder what it does when there's enemies around, because there was nobody around. And then I'm just like, oh, whatever. And I just kept going throughout the game. But
yep.
Well, it's weird because there's a lot of tutorials in this game, and a lot of the intro missions kind of give you an idea of how to do something later on. But then there's stuff that like they don't explain one bit. Like you don't run across anything like that stage thing, upgrading with Y to like your core 3 troops, which makes a big difference. Because that's one of the main things I felt like is like you want to upgrade those troops, make them strong, and then always be playing guitar solos to give them buffs and everything like that, so that like at the end of the day they're at least as powered up as can be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, the only thing, if you don't have the explanation on how to do, this or that, shit, I totally lost where I was going with that. Hey, it's a cool game.
There was a few times when there was an early on mission. You were escorting, I think it was that you were escorting Lars and Ophelia, and it didn't tell you anything to like take care of them. And all I know is like the mission stopped because Lars died. I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that I was supposed to be helping him out. I'm sorry. I'm just doing what I was told.
Yeah, that happened.
Which is hilarious, that like they might die during that kind of thing, because every single one of your battles, your stage battles, like they don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really annoying if they could die too, and then you have to restart the mission. That would not be fun.
Yeah.
Oh god, those kind of games, like those drive me up the wall. Where it's like literally like they want you to do everything on there. Like, yo, I have too much stuff to take care of myself. I could not be protecting everybody else too. Like, I'm trying to think of a game off the top of my head that does that, where it's just like, dude, it's like you're asking way too much of me. It's like where you're pretty much the one person that has to take care of everything, and if you fail on any front, that actually happens in some of the older Warrior games. Actually, those games can be something that's kind of bad about that, because you'll be over here battling something, destroying something. They're like, "Oh, we need help way on the other side of the map." It's like, okay, can nobody else do anything? Let me run my ass back over there, kill some guys, and then come back this way because nobody knows how to do anything.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, even in that final affiliate fight or whatever, so again, like having like the 3 towers on each side. So I was managing an army on her side, just taking her tower over and over again, while managing an army on the other side, that was pushing forward into her base and whatnot. Thank God that they have the because if you didn't have the, what's that, like demonic ability or whatever that you get, that like you grow your wings and you can actually fly around and whatnot, like in that commander mode. Because if that didn't exist and you only like had your car to be able to run back and forth and all that, like that would have been so annoying.
I would just stop playing the game.
Yeah. Or if you didn't even have the car, you had to walk.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, and this very well could have been just the way that my controls were set up, because they were very custom. I had a hard time telling individual troops what to do, and I know that you can like hold a button, select that troop, and then tell it to go, like, I want you to go over here, and I want you troop over here, I want you to go over here, and like all that. I had the hardest time controlling my troops with the control scheme that I had or whatever, basically like every time I would like hit like follow me or whatever, it would grab every single like troop that I had like on the map, like would start to follow me or whatever. Like I had so many things like double mapped or whatever, it was really, really annoying to deal with.
I was screwing that up in general, and in where you it's like where you first get the dudes with the speakers on their backs, and where the game, it's part of that mission. You have to keep certain people there, like Lars, Lita, Ophelia. You have to keep them in a certain point, and the headbangers, and send just the dudes with the giant speakers on their backs. And I kept screwing that up. Like everyone just kept going to that tower where they would just die. I'm like,
Yeah, so what you had to do is you had to hold Y.
I figured it out eventually.
Yeah, and then you could then he goes, hey, listen up, I want just you guys to do it. But I kid you not, though, that many times you're like, cool, okay, they're going off, and then you're watching everybody go, oh, no, not everybody.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. Okay.
No. It's one of those ones that it's almost like they had. Like, it's not the controls are really necessarily bad. It's just like it sounds weird. It's like this is like the point where it's like you just need to switch me over into like Command and Conquer mode. Give me a mouse and let me do it this way, because it's sometimes it's just get a little bit tough trying to do it like without that kind of feature.
It very much should. I almost would. I feel like it almost would make sense if this was a PC only game.
Yeah.
Just. Not that you can't use a controller on a PC. It just, like you've said many times, like it's RTSs and stuff like that. You really want a keyboard and a mouse.
The best one is it's that Halo game. What's the Halo RTS? Halo Wars. Halo Wars. That's easily because they built that game for the ground up on a controller, and like that game feels good. But to force, I've played so many different other types of like RTS games on console that's forced. It never feels right. This game
I played like hardcore was called End War, Tom Clancy.
Oh yeah. I'm familiar.
Pretty neat.
That was decent.
See, when I was a kid, before I had a PC, I played a lot of like RTSs actually on console because I had all the Red Alert ones on PlayStation 1. I played the ones on N64 like StarCraft and everything. If you don't know any better, it actually doesn't seem it's not really that bad. It's once you finally get the PC version, you go, oh, this is a lot easier, But because I put so much time into it back in the day, I could pretty much sometimes play some of them. Some of them just have too many complex. If the game's just a simple select troops, go here, tack, all that, it's fine. It's once you start to get into like when you have almost like all the hotkeys, that's when it gets tough. But it's funny that you bring up it's like this should be a PC only game. When Tim Schafer he designed this game, he's like, we're not gonna make this for PC. It's gonna be a console only game. We want to make it like what an RTS would feel right or feel fine on a console. That was his thought process.
I would love to know though, like what this game would have been like if it was something more along the lines of like a Sid Meier's game or something. I'm sure that would have been bizarre. But I like Sid Meier's Pirates. I don't know if you ever played that, but
great game.
On the NES.
One.
Yeah, it's on NES, and then there's a remake on Xbox. PC as well.
That's a very slow game on the NES.
I could only imagine that. But no, I could imagine, like going around with your giant tour bus and everybody else is following you. I don't know. It just kind of seems cool in my head, but it could be totally lame.
Speaking of that, like the missions, like when you talk about the tour bus driving around, those missions where you had to caravan and you had to protect the tour bus were so fun once I got the hang of it. Because I didn't realize early on in the first one that sometimes the enemies might be in front of the tour bus. So it's like, Eddie, we're dying. I was like, I don't know where they're at. And then it took me a little bit. But
did you die on any of those?
The tour bus will die. Yeah, they'll radio you and you'll hear them all dying and burning inside the bus. But I messed up first like 2 or 3 times, and then I finally got the hang of it and realized, they're in front of it. I got to nitro up and kill them. But Cameron told me to get the homing missiles, which made a massive difference. Also, the aim on those homing missiles, though, there's times when there's an enemy dead ahead of me, and I shoot, and it goes up in the air to the right. Okay. We're just gonna spam X until this happens.
I must have had the game set on like easy mode or something, because I say that as much of a hard time I had with half the game, but I never had any troubles with those escort missions. I hung back the whole time and shot all of the guys from behind. And there was a couple times where he was like, Eddie, we need some help here. And I'm like, oh shoot, I wonder if they're gonna die. But then like all of a sudden, mission success or whatever the hell it said brutal victory. And I'm like, thank God.
Yep.
Yeah, no, those ones did. Cause I was just playing the game on normal because there's like 5 different difficulties or something on this game, and I was like, well, I'm not putting up any higher because I remember a couple of those RTS battles being real tough. So I was like, anything more might be quite frustrating. Yeah, like those ones, like there was that kind of moment where you're like, oh crap, because like you'd get every once in a while you just get your car turned around, and then you're like, oh, back up forward, back up, okay, catch back up again, because all it takes is you run into something wrong. It's kind of like they have like those racing missions. And it's just like I didn't do any of those side ones.
I didn't either.
It's just like you just drive off the road once. I mean, I'll say it's just like in the Grand Theft Auto ones too. Like those ones, you're doing fine, you're doing fine, you're doing fine. You run into like one light pole, the whole thing's done. I mean, I guess in real life, if you were racing and you ran to a light pole, yes, the race would be done.
This is totally unrealistic.
But video game wise, like, you got to give me a little bit more leeway there.
Yep.
I gotta say, I kind of wish there was a little more live action added to the game. Like, obviously, it doesn't hurt the game that there's no more other than that intro, like for the menu of the game. But I don't know. I think that it kind of would have been, I don't know, maybe add a little more humor or just something interesting, kind of fun. Like after the end of the game, like, I don't know, say it goes back to Jack Black. He's like, whoa, what a killer album, or whatever the hell. I don't know, like, oh, that was crazy. Like, now let's listen to side B, or some crap.
I really liked that intro.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like he leads you into the music store, and he's like, hey, here's a secret place here right behind you. Nobody knows about this. And he pulls out that record and everything and, opens it up, and it's a brutal legend, and it's the whole way that the menu operates. Because it's cool because it's like an interactive live action, like, way it goes about multimedia, like old school, like Windows 3.1 style.
I like that. Like, there's a small little nod to it. Did you I don't know if you guys noticed the price, like the sticker or the price tag was $6.66.
Yeah,
I was like, that's kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there's so many of those cool little moments like that I think make it really stand out.
I know that any chance for a sequel is pretty much dead in the water. The last time I found that people were talking about it was like it was like 8 years ago. So, I mean, I'm sure that's not going to happen, but.
Well, so funny enough, no, not a sequel, but so as I, thought about this game, I hit up Spence and I was like, bro, like, so basically to explain to the audience real quick, like the whole reason why this episode even came about is because obviously the one great one, Ozzy Osbourne, passed away, a couple weeks ago. And I remembered this game, and I remembered Ozzy being part of it, and I was like, and I text Spence, and I was like, obviously this big world event just happened, like we should totally do this podcast. And he's like, I should have Buddy, and I should have Dave. We should totally do this, and blah blah blah. Playing through, like throughout the totality of all of this, and like we were talking about, between the RTS elements, between the gameplay in general, the comedy side of it, the cameos, the music, like everything associated with this game is so just like perfect. And I'm really mad that I missed it way back when. Funny enough, so like as I'm doing some research into this game and whatnot, guess what's coming later this year? A full-blown remake or remaster of this game, is actually coming for all brand new consoles and blah 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 and all this stuff. So there might be something out there, because I don't know who's going to be publishing it
or something.
There might be, and even if not, like if like an indie dev can do something, like the problem is licensing of the music, is
exactly
the hardest part. But can another game like this exist in the future? Like, I would wholly hope so. I pray that actually happens, but like
I could see it being something slightly different too, kind of like the Final Fantasy VII versus the remake. Like, not really the same game, even though it is.
Well, I loved what you said earlier about like the fighting thing, because I'm just thinking like Def Jam Fight for New York,
exactly,
but metal. Like metal and rock guys.
What blows my mind is that the Def Jam games happen, but there hasn't been a rock version, because I can only imagine, like, rappers have enough problem with each other as it is in the history of rap, right? Always the feuds and the beefs and this and that, and I'll leave it at that. But I mean, like, I can't imagine how some of them dudes were able to get together and actually agree on stuff. Be like, yeah, okay, this is all right, let's do it, sure. And so I mean. I feel like a lot of metal legends can do the same thing.
I hate to say it, but like, and I loved Def Jam Fight for New York, even though I knew who like Spice were.
Yeah.
But like, I hate to say it because like, obviously, I'm more of a fan of metal than rap, but or rock in general. But man, I just don't, unfortunately, think there's enough marketability for it.
I don't think so. I agree with you. I don't think enough people know all the artists that would probably be reached out to. They're like, who's this? Who's this guy? You know, a lot of rappers are just much more popular.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be curious to see how this remaster does later this year. Being that Ozzy's death is just massive, you know, like it's such a big, like world shattering, you know, side of history at the moment. So I'm really curious to see like how this game in a remastered sense actually does, you know, like sales wise and whatnot. And maybe it might trigger something, you know? So it's kind of the same thing like Spence and I talked about with Dino Crisis earlier this year. When GOG came out with Dino Crisis and all that, we did our podcast episode on it. It's like, there might be enough of an interest here to where like maybe publishers might be able to bow the knee just a little bit, take a risk, invest a little bit, and then, you know, maybe do something. We'll see.
And I'm hoping that happens because I read something today that NFL, supposedly it's on Facebook, but supposedly NFL is going to actually have rock and metal for the first time for halftime show, which I was like, sweet, finally. Like, you play your music. Like I go to a lot of football games, they play their music all throughout the game. Like, great. Like get one of the artists that actually you play.
Yep.
Well, that used to be the problem with.
If they do it, it's Metallica. It couldn't be anybody else.
Yeah, you know. Well, that's the thing is like I remember for the longest time it's like, you know, NFL games in the 90s and early 2000s, they were always rock and roll bands, Rolling Stones, Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen. And it's like that seems fitting. And then they got to that point where they felt like, no, we're going to get just the super pop stars. And I know that's like, you know, they had Michael Jackson back in the day and everything like that. But you know, they would start to get people that felt like so un-football. And I know why they do it because it gets a completely different audience that would never watch football to show on up. It's a marketing strategy, you know.
Well, I think everybody was blown away when they learned that Gojira was playing the Olympics. Yep. I was like, yep, what?
I got to admit, I'd never heard Ojira, any of their music. I've heard of them, and I think Cameron's even told me to check them out. But like, I was like, okay, yeah. And then when they played at the Ozzy show, I was like, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I've seen it at least 3 times. Anyway.
Is speaking of like sequel for this, and I will say this has, even though I think that once again the target audience is a very niche audience for just metal in general, and I know that I just like kind of I said at the beginning, like I think this is like the game is almost designed for like Generation X, and Generation X is now kind of at that older stage anyways. But speaking of Double Fine and all that stuff, the same kind of issues that this game had was the same things that Psychonauts did have, where it got good reviews, people liked it, didn't sell very well. They still were able to go out, though, and make Psychonauts 2 and do it that way. And I think that one they did it kind of through either Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
Crowdfunding. Yep.
So maybe you could do something like that with Brutal Legend. And once again, you could even change the genre a bit. Because I would even say, like, even like this might seem like a step down, but if they did one of those ones where, like, say you turn the game into more of a Metroidvania style one, you make it kind of 2D. Like my example for this is there was a Blood Rain, like the third one is like a side scroller one.
I didn't even know there was a third one.
Yeah, well, it's not called third. It's called Blood Rain something. But it's a side scrolling. I want to say made by the Shantae people or whatever. Whatever that company's called, drawing a blank. But
whatever.
You could do something like that with Brutal Legend. I feel if you know. And still get it like a sequel out and so on, because there's a lot of unanswered questions. Like I feel like they talk about Eddie's father. He came back there. He was the original savior and everything like that. And they mention stuff of there. They mention sort of Eddie, like you know, Eddie's mom was actually the demon lady and stuff that everybody thought was Ophelia, and so on. But I feel like we don't see any of that realistically.
Or maybe some Daviculus origin, or go more into Ormagolden, like. I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot you can do with that, like what's left in that game, like you're saying.
Yeah, the world's just really open. And I even think of just other things, too, like some fun stuff, because I started just brainstorming, like if you had a sequel. And let's just say the sequel's in the same style, even, too. Just the gameplay got to be at least the same. I just think of, like, kind of like one, like, who are some of the cool cameos that you can kind of have in there, you know? And then 2, what are some of the cool other armies you could kind of battle? You know, I like to think of it like maybe it's heavy metal, but like, what are some things that fight heavy metal? Grunge rock.
Yeah.
You know, and what if you kind of had like the downfall is all the grunge rockers are practically dead, but you can still have Tom Morello here. It's like, yeah, all like, well, you could have Eddie Vedder, I guess, you know, you could have that. But I also, I'm like, you know, you could have, there's other heavy metal people that, you know, haven't been in here yet. Like, it'd be cool if you had Alice Cooper. I mean, you could have Zakk Wylde. You could have
Enemies of
Slash.
metal. You could have that weird ass Sleep Token band in there that you have to destroy. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how that band's metal. People keep trying to tell me that's metal. I wouldn't even call it rock. I don't even understand it.
Yeah. See, but here's the thing. So we're in 2025 now. So like all those dead grunge rockers, like you could totally just AI their voice and just do it that way. You know?
Exactly.
God, no kidding.
I was going space for like a possible idea like that. I mean, of course, all fantasy booking stuff, but like as a massive Kiss fan, naturally, I'm like, dude, we got to put Gene Simmons in here if there was a sequel. But I was like, man, I could see Gene Simmons being like, because he's always saying rock and roll is dead. I can picture him being like, you know, just an evil rich guy in a suit all the time until you fight him at the end or something like that. Then he's in his demon form.
Yeah, he turns into the demon form.
A guy that just refuses like to believe that there's any good rock bands or anything out there. Like, no.
Yeah. But how the hell is Dio not in this game?
Well, that's the weird thing too, is they recorded stuff with Dio. They actually had things in there, and I know that they switched out for Tim Curry, but why didn't they just put Dio in as another character? You know,
I think there might have been. I don't know. I could be wrong, and I could just be remembering shit wrong. I don't know, but I think there might have been like some slight conflicts with him and Ozzy.
Yeah,
I was reading about. I was reading about feuds and stuff between him and Ozzy Osbourne, and there's a lot of speculation that it was just for marketing purposes, like just for riling up fans,
like Biggie
and that they actually, like they actually respected each other in real life. But then I did read other things that are kind of funny, like apparently Ozzy had a little midget roadie that went around with him, and he called him Dio.
Sounds like something David Lee Roth would have done.
I guess Dio was kind of short, and then like I guess Dio had said a few times like that he had no respect at all for Ozzy as a person or musician and this and that or vocalist, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird because I also read that Ozzy and Sharon recommended Dio to replace him, like as he was on the outs or something. And again, I don't know, but
yeah, who knows?
Well, I know there was an old story that I forget who talked about it, but I think Dio did in some interview. But when he was with Sabbath, Ozzy wanted at one point for like the 15th anniversary tour or something, he wanted Black Sabbath to open for Ozzy Osbourne. And he's like, well, no, Black Sabbath isn't an opening band. So I think there was some general, at least in the 80s, some beef there for sure.
That's pretty lame.
Yeah, I saw Dio with Sabbath when they were called Heaven and Hell.
Heaven and Hell.
And I definitely remember him being very small. Like he stood next to Geezer Butler, who's at that point he's still in his late 60-year-old man, and he was so much shorter than him. And it was so funny.
Yep.
Yeah,
man.
That's literally that's like Danny Filth at Cradle of Filth. I didn't realize how small that guy was until you see him in concert. You're like, oh my gosh, he's like 5 foot tall, you know. And speaking of which, you get a Cradle of Filth song in here, which I think is also badass too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it was mentioned earlier too, the Death Clock song. So like, I didn't expect it to happen when it happened in my gameplay or whatever, you know. But you just hear that intro, just that, and I'm just like, holy fuck, this is Mermaider. I'm like, dude, hell yeah. There was so many moments in this game that exact thing happened, where it's just like, just wasn't expecting a song to come on. It comes on, you're just like, hell yeah, like, dude, this is perfect. Yeah, so.
Dude, there was two for me. Like when it comes to like songs that were like, there was a bunch more that were like I heard while driving around. Like I stopped driving and texted Spencer. I was like, holy shit, Accept's in the game.
Yeah, Fast as a Shark.
Like literally the first, Fast as a Shark. But man, the first mission when it opens up with that Children of the Grave, that intro rip is so nasty. And I was just like, holy shit, this is a badass song for like the start of a fight.
Oh yeah.
And then at the very end, when Painkiller is the song when you're fighting the boss, I was like, because that's my favorite metal song of all time. I was like, this is perfect.
Yep. Yeah.
And honestly,
best ending villain song.
Yeah.
If you love that song and you haven't heard it, you should listen to Painkiller by Death.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
The other one that surprised me was during the credits, they played Never Say Die from Black Sabbath. Because I went on a little Black Sabbath listening streak, which I'm sure a lot of people did. And I'd never heard that album or that song. That's definitely like past their glory days or hits. But man, Never Say Die is a killer tune.
That was the last album, technically, before Ozzy left. Like, I think he's only on like half of the record.
Is that the one where it's got the pilots on the cover?
Yeah.
That's the song that played for the credits, and I was like, I never knew this song existed, and apparently it was well liked enough to be for the credits for that. I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah, no, they have a handful of Black Sabbath ones, and once again they choose really cool things. Like they don't choose like, you know, like big hit songs. Like none of the stuff's generally things that would be on a greatest hits, unless it's the hair metal bands. But everything else is kind of like these really like, oh, these that's a cool choice, you know. It's the perfect example is like with Accept. They could have went with Balls Through the Wall. That would have been like choosing the biggest song. They don't. They go as Fast as a Shark. And you're like, oh, that's badass, you know. Or even like the Lita Ford song they choose. They choose like I actually think it was a song that she was like a newer Lita Ford song, because they go with a really like oddball Lita Ford one, but it's cool that they do it.
And what caught me by surprise was when I heard Accept on there for the first time, because I haven't heard that song since you and I saw them live, but like the intro's from like some cartoon show, it sounds like, at least, and so it kind of tripped me out because I was like, what is this? Like, what is this song?
Oh,
like,
the German.
Yeah. It's like that German cartoon sound or whatever. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then once it started, I saw that it was Accept. I was like, oh, that's right. Like, yeah, Accept is way too good. But yeah, that's a different story.
Well, that's the thing I think about is like within a sequel is just what all the other songs, all the other cameos you can have. There's so much possibility, I think, you know.
I just think like you kept mentioning too, just like in a sequel sense, the amount of beyond, you know, even just like individual bands and whatnot, like I said, just like think about a Paul Gilbert character, a Buckethead character, like think about Eddie being able to expand his repertoire of like, you know, abilities and whatnots, where he's not just playing just the guitar. Imagine if he has these like summonable, like, you know, drums or something, you know, or like whatever. I mean, there's so much possibility that you
like
can do
the sticks of artist A, the guitar of artist B,
you know, and like, yeah, I just think like there's so much cool stuff they could do, you know.
Have shouts like in Skyrim, but they're different vocals.
Well, yeah. Well, you mentioned that, and this is also what I think of is I almost picture like, you know, in Ninja Gaiden how you get all the different weapons. Is what if instead it's like you get different weapons and each one's a different instrument, but it's kind of like, you know, you could have it be based off of collects them from different legends. Would be kind of cool, you know. So you got a guitar, like, you know, maybe you got Zakk Wylde's guitar, you know, you got John Bonham's drum set or something like that. You know, you could have certain person's like keyboard and you know another person's bass, and and each one of these ones like almost the other way I can think of this is like in Majora's Mask, how Link has all the different instruments and it creates different like characters he can turn into.
And then keep it open world the same way, and use that as opportunities for exploration and whatnot too. You know, like, oh, you found, you know, Zakk Wylde's cave, or you know, like, you know, his metal fortress or something, you know, hidden behind the wall of blah blah blah. You know, like there's so much cool stuff you could do with this universe. You know.
I actually could see like if you guys have seen Black Label Society or Zach Sabbath, like, you know, that during his show at one point, Zakk Wylde, he hangs pictures of Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Darrell, and he you know, he says like it's this tribute to Saint Dime and Saint Vinnie, and he calls everybody who's deceased Saint. You know, so now he's going to be saying Saint. Probably Saint Ozzy, but anybody who's alive, their father, this and that, father so and so, and I could imagine almost like kind of like Ozzy's Motor Forge or whatever in this game could be like Zakk Wylde's chapel. You know, where he's got all of his deities and whatnot. It'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, like kind of Hall of Fame thing. Because, well, there's even some stuff, even though they have like 107 songs in here, it's really easy to kind of go like, and I know sometimes it comes down to money, but like certain bands, it's like there's not a Pantera song in here. There's not a Van Halen song, you know. I know that they want to get AC/DC and Metallica, but they just want too much, especially at that time period. AC/DC and Metallica is just rolling in the dough.
This is like right around the Napster era too, right? With Metallica.
A little bit past it.
Probably 10 years
Napster
past
was like
that.
98. Something like
was that late 90s? Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason,
So
2004 or so.
So this is kind of like the era where Metallica's kind of having a comeback because they
this
just
was
did
between Saint Anger and Death Magnetic.
Yeah, Death Magnetic would have just came out probably. So, but yeah, it's like, couldn't have that. But then I was thinking of other things too. There's no Alice Cooper songs in here, And granted, I know it's like you can only have so many tunes, so I feel like you get nitpicky and someone like that. But just the fact that like I can see where there's so many things you could pull from.
Yeah, the one that the other song that got me going pretty hard was because I just haven't heard it in so long. But the Technical Difficulties by Racer X and Paul Gilbert shredding on. Oh, dude, like that was another one. I was like, hell yeah, I have not heard that in days. So.
What's crazy too is like I know there was a trophy for like having listened to all the songs on the game. I have no idea how many songs I even listened to, but it felt like a lot, and it made me wonder, like, well, shit, how do I hear
8 hours worth of music?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that if you look in the stats, it tells you how many songs you've unlocked so far. Because I got to like 87 songs out of 107 or whatever on my playthrough, and I think you got to just start doing side missions probably to get other songs. I think that's kind of how that starts to appear. Because I just tried flipping through it and seeing if that would work, and it didn't. Because there were some tunes that I had on my first playthrough that I couldn't find this time. Like I never got the God of Thunder never appeared for me on my second time around.
I didn't hear that one either.
I did not.
Yeah. So I don't know why. The kid. Yeah, Gene was like, no, no, we're pulling the Kiss tune.
Wouldn't be surprised.
So another interesting stat that I always like to do on these podcasts with Spence is like, so a lot of the time I usually play on Steam, and so this game, like being probably more popular, I would assume on console more so, the completion rate of this game for easy, because I did it on normal and it unlocked the gentle and normal mode or whatever. Easy mode completion on this game on Steam right now is 13.6%. Normal is 10.7%. So like not a lot of this game wasn't popular on PC like at all. And it really upsets me because you mentioned like, about like, oh, I wonder how this plays like on PC, and I had access to it this whole time. I never actually used the PC controls, mostly because like I would assume that most of these types of games from this era that are ported over to PC have awful PC controls. So yeah. Luckily it's mappable.
Well, some parts of the game too I think are definitely better with the controller.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is like, okay, other than that PC version though, I mean, Buddy went old school and played it on PS3, but it's like you couldn't play this game on PS4 or 5. The only way you can really play it easily is on Xbox. It's still available. You just play the 360 version on your Series X. And the cool thing is this is one of those games you can actually stream on Game Pass as well too. So
nice.
It's for Xbox gamers, it's pretty easy to get to and play and try out. But I feel for everybody else though, you have to kind of go out of your way. And it sounds like with Steam, you got to really manipulate those controls. So it's always like why I had that Joy-Con thing really comes in handy for. It's weird because Brutal Legend, I think, because that game came out in 2013, I want to say on PC. So that's kind of I would have thought that would have been slightly past the point where the controllers were kind of funky. Because the controllers like in like 90s games, those are the ones where it's just like they won't recognize your R2, L2, they'll miss out on a lot of other things. So you really got to go around to make that work. But
yeah. Now it's the unfortunate side of the PC during the like late, I don't know, I'd say from like probably 2009 to about 2015 or so, like most games that were mostly made for console that ported over to PC usually have awful control schemes, and it's a fucking pain to get it working. But luckily this game wasn't that bad. And like I said, I had to change my controls a handful of times throughout the whole experience or whatever, especially the end of the Diviculous fight. My dodge button was mapped to Xbox controller X button, and I really wanted it on B, but B's mapped to so many other things throughout the totality of my play experience that by the time I got to the Diviculous fight, I was like, cool, it's finally the end. There's nothing past this. Now I'm going to change my roll button to be the B button and like killed everything else, so like was able to do the fight that way. But anyway, it was an interesting experience nonetheless. So.
Yeah, and I'll say too, like I think because, and it's I know it's because I switched it to wimpy mode, but like because early on I was just getting my ass kicked so much, and like I suck at video games. I really enjoy them, but I'm not good.
I'm kind of right there with you half the time, man.
Yeah, but when I switched it to wimpy, like I'll be honest, I forgot what button was even block and roll because I didn't need to hear just basically like, I'm God, neither did I.
Oh, I kid you not. I don't think I use the roll button very much, even on normal. So,
well, there's no reason to, and that's what I was saying. Like, if there was more Diviculous style encounters, where it's a 1v1 fight or whatever, and if Eddie had more of a, more abilities, in a 1v1 style setting, like they could have done a lot more with that I thought would have been really cool, but it didn't. I agree. So.
Yeah, no, I take it back though. I did use it on the Diviculous fight. That was, I guess, the one time that the block and everything came in handy.
So by default, the Steam version's block button is it's the back button on an Xbox controller. You have to hold that button to block. Yeah, select. You have to hold that to block. It's like, okay.
See, this is the only thing I wonder controller-wise. I wonder what happened if you plug the 360 controller in, because at that time period, 360 was being pretty native with PC. Yeah. You have to obviously download the patch for it.
Yeah, because this is early. I guess this is Windows 7 era, I guess.
Well, because strange enough, in 2013, this is when Xbox One would have came out. So, and once Xbox One came, that was when it's pretty common. But I remember 360 controllers were kind of like the first ones in that kind of Windows Vista era that you could kind of plug in, and it's like, oh, it actually is not too bad.
Yeah, the 360 controller mostly works with mostly everything. Actually, I should test that. I'll check back with you on that later. But
I mean, I guess you're playing on your Steam Deck, so it'd be kind of silly to be plugging in a 360 controller to it.
I just tried to find if there was any adapters for a 360 to a Series X.
Yeah, there is.
You think somebody in China?
I have one. I have one that. Yeah, there's these adapters called Brooks. And I literally have one for like every single system because I just like controllers that much. But
I don't know why I didn't even ask you. But
one of the ones I mainly have it for is for my PlayStation 5, because PlayStation 5 was goofy with like fight sticks and fighting controllers, like where they didn't want you to use your PS4 ones or anything like that. So I was like, well, I'm buying an adapter then. Screw you.
Dave, you really should just constantly reach out to Cameron and Spencer for anything tech. Like, as you saw from me just trying to pair my headphones on, that I'm not, even though I'm really good at selling cell phones and technology, I don't know how to use the shit. But like, I literally have our group text is called Buddy's Tech Support Group, because when I was like getting a laptop, I was like, hey guys, what do I do with this? Is this a good one?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. They know all the answers. But yeah, no, Brutal Legend. Just gotta say that it's such a good game, and if anybody likes anything from rock and roll to heavy metal, like it probably is one of the best like metal experiences you can kind of have outside of like just music itself. Like I don't know, it's like the coolest metal story. I can't think of anything else that's even close. There's no book, there's no comic, there's no movie, there's no nothing that like captures like the way that Brutal Legend does in its story. And just, I love all the characters. Every single one of them is so badass, from Lars to Lita to Eddie to Ophelia. Like, I feel like it captures all that stuff so well. Like, you never see a character and go, man, that was a dumb choice or anything like that. It's like, every single one of them's like, oh, I feel it, and so on like that, And even the hair metal ones that, as much as I love hair metal music and that, like, I do take a little bit of offense to it back in the day, but now I look at it and go, no, I don't care. You can make fun of those things, whatever. I think nowadays we kind of live in an era where, like, the hair metal is kind of a little bit more respected, where at least in that 2000s it was not. So I do kind of understand where it's coming from.
Yep. No, I very much agree. This game to me feels like when I think of like movie or like that style of medium or whatever, like heavy metal comes to mind, like almost every time when I think of like metal genre within like movies and shows and things like that. This game easily is that for video games, like 100%. It's the very first thing that's going to always come to my mind if I ever think of like what's a really good rock and roll game. It's going to be Brutal Legend and then Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, Guitar Hero 3 it's got Slash and Tom Morello in there too. So, those two guys could be in the sequel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm really glad I gave this game a shot finally after all those years of waiting. Because even like when we were getting ready for it, I was like, yeah, I'm in. And it takes me a bit to like get into a game. And then like hearing how excited you guys were, I was like, I need to just play this. And man, I'm glad I did.
Yep. Yeah, same. The biggest thing for me was I I don't know. I guess great minds think alike. There must have been some kind of collective. But I was thinking about this game right after Ozzy passed, and for more reasons than one, that bummed me the hell out. For the same reason it bummed all you guys out and most other people. It's like I almost saw him, had tickets to see his show in 2019. Then he fell, and it was rescheduled, and then it was ultimately canceled, and so on and so forth. It was like I was like, I'm just never gonna see him, and of course I didn't. And it's one of those things like, what a bummer. And for so many reasons, and it's kind of like a little tribute here, you know.
Yeah, it is a tribute. I mean, I did get to see Ozzy twice. I saw him with Ozzy Osbourne, and I saw him with Black Sabbath. And when we saw him with Ozzy Osbourne, I literally got the bucket of water. Ozzy chucked it on me and RJ in the audience. And I remember we were like so excited because it was like 100 degrees out. What? Ozzy chucked that bucket of water. That bucket of water was so frozen cold, and we were soaked to the bone that like the sun dropped like right after that. And then we froze the rest of the night. We're like, oh man, it's so cold here watching Judas Priest.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I just remember like it was like, oh, see, because we got tickets right when we got to Ozfest, and they're like, oh, you're here so early. Here's this band, kids. Like you can walk right up to the front. So it was like, okay. So every single time we just walked and they just pushed us right to the front of the stage. It was like we had like a fast pass to there. It was like, okay, here we are.
Nice.
But yeah, no, this game is really like it's the greatest like homage to heavy metal. Like it's almost that one, like if you had to explain heavy metal to somebody in one piece of media, this game is like, take this game. It will explain everything to you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Here's the game. You'll have to find your own Xbox.
Yeah. Yeah. Find an Xbox, all that stuff. But here's the game, or give it to them on PS3.
PS3 still works.
Did they make the fan go hard?
Not as hard as the PS4.
Yeah, one of those ones. But yeah, well, I'm actually, because there's that remaster coming out, I look kind of forward to even picking that up again too. I almost want to just kind of buy it just to support it, like one of those ones, like buy it day one, just so they can get the game's worth it. I mean, I think I spent like $5 on my Xbox version of it. So I can give them a whole lot more money and make it worth their while. But especially if it's on Switch too, I'd be actually kind of stoked to have that version like that. That would be kind of cool. But maybe, who knows?
Maybe a lot of fun on Switch. So I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of hope it would be. And just the fact that, like, who knows, maybe this might be a little bit of a resurgence. And as I said, since Psychonauts 2 was able to come out, I don't think it's totally out of the question for Brutal Legend to come out. Let's be honest, Psychonauts 2 is probably just as hard of a sell as Brutal Legend would be.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very niche audience one, too. So, yeah, no, I think the possibility is there, even though at the same time I think it's not there. It's a weird one. I'm like on the fence on this.
I think more so than anything, the problem is going to be licensing all the music. It's the same thing with like any game that is like those Tony Hawk remasters or whatever. I understand that it has majority, if not all, of the soundtracks from the original, but still, nonetheless, with a title like this, that's probably going to be the biggest struggle. Is that.
Well, it's like the Tony Hawk one, the 1 and 2, because I played the living daylights out of both those ones or whatever. It's only missing Rage Against the Machine and one other song, but they almost make up for it by giving like, here's 10 other songs that actually fit like if they were in there, or maybe 15 other songs. So it kind of fills the gap. On 3 and 4, the soundtrack's not nearly as good on 3 and 4. I mean, there's like Motorhead and things like that, which is cool. But I don't know if it's missing as much. I can't really remember exactly,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always the toughest. That's saying that the Grand Theft Auto games, they've had those problems throughout the years where there's a few songs that get lost, each time a new remaster comes out and so on like that.
It's so dumb. You'd think that if it was in the original game, why?
Yeah, you license it once. Like that's such a. I hate to sort of say that. That's like that weird. Everybody wants their extra, pennies here and there and so on like that. To me, it's just one of those ones. Like I feel like I hate to sort of say like, you license it out like. Keep the art like going, Yeah. But with a new one though, it'd be interesting just to see what other songs you could grab and different artists and so on. And I think that even some bands that like might have been kind of greedy in the 2000s, it'd be interesting to see. Hey, in the late 2020s, could we maybe get some, AC/DC? Could we get some Van Halen? Can we get some Guns N' Roses? Can we get some Metallica? Even like no, there's Anthrax and Slayer in this one. I was just trying to think of who else there wasn't, but
Yep.
I know Testament was in it too.
Yeah, Testament's in it and so on like that. Anvil's in there. I mean, I will say a lot of them are a little bit more like hard cut bands. Like you got to be kind of really into heavy metal, But yeah,
I forgot he was in there.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty sweet. It's actually a really good song they got too. But I still also think in the sequel of just like all the people you could fight, all the other armies you could fight. Like I still think the grunge rock one I think would be so perfect, especially for the fact that there's literally that a Tenacious D song where it's like
K-pop army in there.
Oh, the metal. I mean,
grunge tried to take the metal,
punk rock, all of that.
But then punk rock I think would be the other one you could fight too, which I think would be kind of interesting.
There's so many different genres.
Emo.
Evo, you could have that in there too, and it would just be interesting. And maybe by blending a bunch more different tunes, kind of Tony Hawk style, you might be able to pull a little bit more people in there. Of course, your heavy metal guys would be the main characters, but the fact that you did have all the other stuff could be kind of cool.
Yep. Or just have a completely brand new narrative-driven experience where you have branching paths and narrowways and all that, and like be able to choose your characters, start with your archetype, start with your background story and all that, and then work your way through a metal world. That would be super cool too. But again, that's wishful thinking.
Yeah, so there's a lot of possibilities I think that can be had, and I just hope something comes of it. I think that's the thing is, you really need. Yeah, and it does kind of it does kind of still make me want to play other Tim Schafer games, which I feel bad. I've never played any of them except for Monkey Island, and I only kind of played that one back in the day.
Yep.
But beyond all that good stuff, go out and check out Brutal Legend. But you can always listen to all the Old Man Orange podcasts on YouTube and Spotify. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
Dave Candido.
My buddy.
And I am Cameron.
And we'll see you all later.